I step into the grand ballroom of the Evergreen Resort and immediately wish I hadn't come. Chandeliers drip crystal light across marble floors, and wealth whispers through the room in hushed tones of respect. Michael's hand finds the small of my back, steadying me with the gentle pressure of his palm. Breathe, he whispers, his surgeon's eyes assessing me with clinical precision. We earned our place here. Leo tugs at his bow tie, his 6-year-old patience already wearing thin. Mom, this thing is trying to choke me. I kneel, adjusting the offending fabric with a smile. Just for a little while, buddy. Remember our deal, good behavior now, swimming pool after. The reception crowd parts briefly, and my heart stops. A familiar profile catches my eye, the slight tilt of her head, the way she leans forward when she laughs. I haven't seen that gesture in 11 years, but my body remembers it instantly. The bride turns, champagne glass raised in a toast, and our eyes lock across the room. Grace. My sister. The champagne flute trembles slightly in my hand, the only outward sign of the earthquake happening inside me. I hadn't recognized the name Daniel Brooks in the invitation. I hadn't made the connection. I'd assumed Grace was still using our family name Collins. Her gasp cuts through the ambient conversation like a blade. Heads turn. The music continues, but a bubble of silence forms around us, stretching across the divide. Behind her, Mother's face drains of color, then flushes crimson. Father moves protectively toward Grace, his broad shoulders creating a barrier between us just as he's done all our lives. What are you doing here? Mother hisses, loud enough that nearby guests turn with curious eyes. The familiar shame rises in my throat. For a heartbeat, I'm 21 again, standing in the rain with a suitcase, homeless and alone. Michael steps forward, his voice firm but measured. My wife is a guest. She's the CEO of MedNova. We were personally invited by the groom. The name MedNova ripples through the cluster of medical professionals nearby. I hear whispers, see recognition dawn in their eyes. CEO? A woman in a burgundy dress turns to her companion. That's Amber Collins? The rain soaks through my thin jacket as Father's words echo in my memory. If you're too ungrateful to help at the clinic, don't come back. The slam of our front door punctuates his sentence, final as a judge's gavel. Now, I stand straight-backed in Valentino, the rain a distant memory. The scared girl is gone. In her place stands a woman who built something from nothing, who refused to disappear. Dr. Daniel Brooks approaches, confusion creasing his brow. His gaze darts between Grace's frozen face and my composed one. You know the CEO of MedNova? He directs this question to my parents, then turns to me with growing interest. We've been trying to partner with them for months. Your patient monitoring system is revolutionizing post-surgical care. Grace attempts a smile, but it falters at the edges. Mother and father exchange glances loaded with panic. The whispers among the wedding guests grow louder, more insistent. I could make a scene. I could expose 11 years of lies. I could tell Daniel how they told everyone I'd failed out of college, how they'd painted me as irresponsible while pocketing my tuition money for Grace's benefit. The power is finally mine. Instead, I simply say, "Hello, Grace. Congratulations." The simplicity lands like a thunderclap. Grace flinches as if I'd shouted. Michael's hand returns to my back, a silent question. Stay or go? Leo looks up at me, innocent to the undercurrents swirling around us. Mom, is that lady in the white dress your friend? Daniel's gaze sharpens. He looks between Grace and me, his new bride and the stranger who clearly isn't a stranger. Grace. His voice carries confusion and the first notes of suspicion. I thought you said your sister was. His voice trails off, the unfinished sentence hanging between us. Grace's eyes dart frantically between her new husband and her parents. For the first time in my life, I watch her struggle for words. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately regretted it? The smart move would be to grab my family and quietly slip away. Let Grace have her perfect day. Let sleeping dogs lie. But sometimes regret is just fear wearing a mask. And I stopped being afraid a long time ago. And this is my wife, Grace, Daniel beams, his arm sliding around her waist. Stanford graduate and the brilliant mind managing her family's medical practice back in Vermont. I stand 10 feet away, my champagne untouched, watching my sister nod demurely as she's introduced to a cluster of doctors. Her pearl earrings catch the light when she tilts her head, a gesture I recognize from childhood or tell when she's about to stretch the truth. The Collins Clinic has been serving our community for 30 years, she says, voice pitched perfectly between pride and humility. We specialize in family medicine with some geriatric care. Michael touches my elbow, drawing my attention to the conversation unfolding beside us. A silver-haired woman in an elegant pantsuit studies my name badge. Mednova? Her eyes widen. You're Amber Collins? Your presentation at last month's medical summit was brilliant. The patient monitoring system you've developed is changing post-surgical recovery protocols across 3 states now. 4, actually, I smile. We just finalized implementation with Northwestern's hospital network. Across the room, Grace fumbles through a response about platelet therapy trends. The doctor questioning her exchanges a subtle glance with his colleague. I thought Stanford's medical program had shifted away from that approach 3 years ago, he says, brow furrowed. Grace's laugh floats a pitch too high. Well, you know how these academic debates go. Some professors hold on to traditional methodologies longer than others. Daniel's expression shifts almost imperceptibly, tightening around the eyes, a slight withdrawal of his arm from her waist. He's noticing the discrepancy. Amber. The voice behind me belongs to my father. 11 years older, but unmistakable, the same commanding tone that once sent me scurrying to answer phones at the clinic after school while Grace practiced piano. You need to leave, he says, positioning himself between me and the rest of the room. You're ruining Grace's day. Michael stiffens beside me, but I place a steadying hand on his arm. I was invited by Daniel, I reply, my voice low but firm. Perhaps you should explain why that upsets you. Father's face reddens. The expensive suit he wears can't disguise the man beneath a small-town doctor whose authority stops at the borders of his own practice. Don't play innocent. You showing up like this, flaunting your whatever company you claim to run. Mednova is hardly a claim, Dennis. Michael steps forward, every inch the Harvard-trained surgeon. The medical technology conference in Boston last month featured your daughter as the keynote speaker. Her monitoring systems are in 27 hospitals nationwide. A nearby guest turns at this, clearly recognizing the company name. Across the room, my mother hovers near Grace, desperately trying to steer Daniel's colleagues away from my direction, her hands fluttering like panicked birds. Too late. The connections are already forming throughout the room, medical professionals recognizing my name, making associations. Leo tugs at my hand. Mom, can I have some cake now? You promised. In a minute, sweetheart. Leo looks past me, eyes fixed on Grace. Is that lady your sister? Does she go to Stanford like you did? Dennis's face drains of color. Before he can respond, Leo continues innocently. You showed me your old college pictures. The red buildings were pretty. Grace has drifted closer. Daniel beside her. Her face freezes at Leo's words. Stanford? Daniel says, looking between us. You went to Stanford too, Amber? Class of 2014, I answer simply. Daniel's colleague, distinguished cardiologist based on his conversation, turns to Daniel. You didn't mention your wife's sister was Amber Collins. Her work on predictive algorithms for post-surgical complications is revolutionary. Northwestern Medical has reduced readmission rates by 22% using her systems. The weight of 11 years of lies settles visibly on Grace's shoulders. She reaches for Daniel's arm, but he steps slightly away, his attention now fully on the professional conversation happening around me. Rain drums against my dorm window as I stare at the bank statement, the numbers not computing. My college fund depleted. Transferred to an account I don't recognize. The same day, a package arrives from Grace of photos of her spring break in Cancun, the trip I couldn't understand how our family could afford. I shake off the memory, focusing on the present. Daniel has pulled Grace aside. their heated whispers visible from across the ballroom. His face reflects growing confusion, then disbelief, then something harder as she clutches at his sleeve. "You told me you graduated from Stanford," he says, voice rising just enough to carry. "I went there. I've never heard your name mentioned by any of the faculty." Grace's response comes frantically. "It was mostly remote learning, a special program they had for. Stanford Medicine doesn't offer remote degrees." Daniel's voice has gone cold. Never has. Color drains from Grace's face as she realizes her carefully constructed life is beginning to collapse. Her eyes dart around the room, landing on mine with desperation. Daniel steps back from her, straightens his tie, and turns. With deliberate steps, he walks across the ballroom away from Grace, directly toward me. Behind him, Grace's pleading eyes follow, a drowning woman watching her last lifeline walk away. Daniel guides me away from the crowd with a gentle hand on my elbow. His fingers tremble slightly against my skin, the only indication that the poised doctor is rattled. "Let's find somewhere quieter," he says, his voice steady, but his eyes darting back to where Grace stands with my parents, their heads bent together in urgent conversation. We settle in a small alcove at the edge of the ballroom. 2 plush chairs, a small table between us. The muted lighting casts shadows across his face, highlighting the sharp angles of confusion etched there. "I apologize for the awkwardness," he begins, straightening his bow tie. His words trail off, uncertain how to frame the chasm of questions between us. "You didn't know Grace had a sister." I finish for him, keeping my voice neutral. Daniel's eyes widen. "She mentioned a sister once, but said you dropped out of college after a semester, that you couldn't handle the pressure and disappeared." The old wound throbs, but I don't flinch. Years of boardroom negotiations have taught me to keep my face composed even when bleeding internally. "I graduated summa cum laude," I say simply, "while working 3 jobs." 3 jobs? His brow furrows. Mornings at a coffee shop, evenings at the hospital reception desk, weekends at a call center. The memories flood back the bone. Deep exhaustion, falling asleep over textbooks, the relentless push forward. I put myself through school part-time. No family support. Each word lands like a stone between us, ripples spreading outward. Daniel's expression shifts from confusion to calculation, the surgeon's analytical mind reassessing everything he thought he knew. "Stanford?" he asks, naming his alma mater. I shake my head. "Community college first, then State University. I couldn't afford Stanford after I discovered my college fund had been." I pause, choosing my words carefully. "Reallocated." "To Grace's education," he concludes, the pieces clicking into place. The ballroom around us blurs as memories surface sleeping on Sarah's lumpy couch for 6 months, showering at the YWCA when Jamie's boyfriend kicked me out, eating ramen for weeks straight to save for textbooks. The humiliation of asking professors for extensions because I couldn't stay awake after triple shifts. "The hospital where I worked reception," I continue. "That's where I met Michael. He was a resident then. I remember that night clearly hunched over healthcare administration textbooks during my dinner break, exhaustion pulling at my eyelids. Michael stopping at my desk, curious about the complex diagrams I'd sketched in the margins. "You understand Kellerman's patient flow theory?" he'd asked, surprised. "It's flawed," I'd replied without looking up. "The bottleneck isn't intake, it's documentation requirements between departments." He'd pulled up a chair, and we'd talked until my break ended. The next day, he brought coffee and questions about my ideas for streamlining patient monitoring. Within months, we were developing the prototype that would become MedNova's cornerstone product. Daniel leans forward. "And MedNova? Grace mentioned you worked some office job." I can't help the small smile that touches my lips. "We started in our apartment 7 years ago. Last quarter's revenue was just under $400 million. Across the room, I spot my parents flanking Grace like sentinels. Dennis paces small circles, his face flushed with anger, while Margaret clutches Grace's arm, her knuckles white with tension. They cast frantic glances our way, whispering urgently. They're going to try to separate us soon, I say calmly. Daniel follows my gaze. They appear concerned. Michael approaches us, phone discreetly positioned at his side. I recognize his strategy documenting behavior while appearing casual. A protective measure we've learned after years of navigating hostile business environments. Everything all right here? He asks, his surgeon's eyes performing a quick assessment of my well-being. Just catching up, I reply, gratitude warming my chest. The man standing beside me, steady, brilliant, sees me as I am, not as my family's convenient narrative. On cue, Margaret bustles toward us, her voice pitched to Carrie. Daniel, there's someone from Boston General dying to meet you. Her eyes slide past me as if I'm invisible. A familiar sensation. Daniel stands his ground. In a moment, Margaret, Amber and I are having an important conversation. My mother's smile stiffens. Always the attention seeker, our Amber. She turns to the nearest cluster of guests. She's always been jealous of her sister's accomplishments. The statement hangs in the air like smoke, acrid and choking. Several guests shift uncomfortably, eyes darting between us. I remain seated, back straight, face composed. Michael's hand rests on my shoulder, a silent anchor. When the bathroom door swings closed behind me 20 minutes later, I'm not surprised to find Grace already inside, reapplying mascara with trembling hands. Our eyes meet in the mirror. "Why are you doing this to me?" she demands, voice breaking on the final word. I wash my hands slowly, deliberately. Doing what, exactly? Ruining my wedding, making Daniel question everything. Tears streak her carefully applied makeup. I'm not doing anything, I reply softly. I'm simply existing. Grace slams her mascara wand onto the marble counter. You were supposed to stay gone. For the first time, I see the fear behind her anger, the terror of a house of cards beginning to collapse. They told everyone you were a dropout, she continues, words tumbling out like a confession. That you couldn't handle responsibility. That you were... And yet here I am, I interrupt, handling quite a lot. When I emerge from the bathroom, my composure is intact. I return to Michael's side, to the warmth of his hand finding mine. Grace follows minutes later, makeup freshly applied, but something essential has shattered behind her eyes. I notice it immediately, the subtle shift in the room. Wedding guests gradually drifting toward us, drawn by genuine curiosity. A neurosurgeon discussing patient monitoring innovations with Michael. A hospital administrator slipping me her card. Your post-operative monitoring system reduced our complication rates by 30%, she tells me. We'd love to explore expanding its implementation. Daniel stands at my elbow, attentive to the conversation, asking insightful questions about MedNova's technology. His new bride hovers at the periphery, unmoored. Father approaches, shoulders squared for battle. Daniel, he interrupts loudly, this is Grace's wedding. Let's focus on her accomplishments. The silence that follows fills the room like water, drowning everything else. All eyes flick between Daniel and Dennis, then to Grace, whose smile stretches thin across her face. No one speaks. No one needs to. Sometimes silence holds more truth than any words could express. I hand my half-empty champagne flute to a passing server and check my watch. We've stayed long enough. Michael catches my eye across the room where he's extricating himself from a conversation with an enthusiastic orthopedic surgeon. His slight nod confirms we're on the same wavelength, as always. Are we leaving now? Leo tugs at my hand, hope brightening his eyes. Swimming pool time? Yes, buddy, just one more thing. I pull a small cream-colored envelope from my clutch. Inside rests a certificate for MedNova stock, not life-changing money, but enough to make a statement. This is who I am now, not the desperate girl they threw away. Michael joins us, his hand finding the small of my back. Ready? Almost. I scan the room for Daniel. The poor man deserves some courtesy on his wedding day, even if his in-laws don't. We find him near the bar, watching Grace with an expression I recognize too well, the first hints of doubt creeping into what should be certainty. My sister works the room with practiced charm, but now I notice how she flinches slightly when medical terms enter the conversation, how quickly she redirects. We're heading out, I tell Daniel, offering the envelope. Congratulations again. He takes it with genuine warmth. Thank you for coming, especially considering. His eyes drift toward my parents, who hover nearby like vultures circling wounded prey. I appreciate the invitation. I mean it. Closing this chapter matters more than I realized. Daniel leans closer, voice dropping. I'd like to visit Mednova sometime. Professionally. Our eyes meet, understanding passing between us without words. He knows. Maybe not everything, but my assistant will set it up. I offer my business card, aware of Grace watching us, her smile cracking at the edges like old porcelain. Mother glides toward us, social armor firmly in place. Amber was always so driven, she tells a nearby guest with calculated lightness. Of course, she had advantages we couldn't provide Grace. The blatant reversal of truth would have wounded me once. Now it's almost comical. What advantages were those, Mrs. Collins? Michael asks innocently. The 3 jobs while putting herself through night school or sleeping on friends' couches after you took her tuition money? Mother's face hardens, but a cluster of Daniel's colleagues has drifted within earshot. She retreats a step, recalculating. Leo looks up at me, confusion clouding his face. Aren't those people your family, Mom? The question silences everyone within hearing distance. Simple, direct, unintentionally devastating. I kneel to his level. They're relatives, buddy. Family is different. Father chooses this moment to approach, puffing up his chest like he did when I was young and easily intimidated. You can't just waltz back into our lives and... I'm not interested in walking back into anything. My voice cuts through his bluster with quiet finality. I'm not here to expose you or reconcile with you. I built my own life, which is exactly what you forced me to do when you showed me the door. The image flashes unbidden. Rain soaking through my jacket, the weight of my suitcase, the terrifying freedom of having nothing left to lose. Behind me, Leo fidgets with his bow tie again. Michael rests his hand on our son's shoulder, steadying him the way he steadied me all those years ago when I thought I'd drown. Thank you, I tell my parents, causing them to blink in confusion. Thank you for not giving me a chance. You made me build my own. Mother's face contorts between rage and social preservation. For once, she finds no words. I take Leo's hand. Michael falls into step beside us as we make our exit unhurried, dignified, complete. No dramatic declarations, no tearful scenes, just the quiet power of walking away whole. Whispers follow us like gentle rain, but unlike that night 11 years ago, they don't touch me. I've built an umbrella of accomplishment that shields me from their storms. In the lobby, Leo breaks free and spins with childish delight. Pool time. 10 minutes to change, and I'll meet you there, Michael tells him, tousling his hair. As we cross toward the elevators, I catch our reflection in the polished marble Walla family of 3, solid and connected. Behind us, through the ballroom doors, I glimpse Daniel watching our departure, then turning back to his new bride with new questions in his eyes. Some weddings mark beginnings. This one marks an ending, the final release of expectations I never needed to fulfill, approval I no longer seek, and pain I refuse to carry forward. Leo punches the elevator button with enthusiastic determination. Up we go. Yes, up we go indeed. Sunlight angles through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, casting long shadows across the polished concrete floors. 1 month has passed since Grace's wedding, but the memory still lurks in corners of my mind like a half-forgotten dream. I scan the partnership proposal from Boston Memorial, a contract worth 8 figures sprawled across my desk. Mednova's patient monitoring system reduced post-surgical complications by 37% in their trial run. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't play favorites. My assistant Meredith's voice crackles through the intercom. Dr. Daniel Brooks is here to see you. My pen stills against paper. I hadn't spoken to my sister's husband since that night. Sent him in. Daniel enters like a man carrying invisible weight. His shoulders curl forward, suit jacket wrinkled at the elbows. Dark circles shadow his eyes. Thank you for seeing me without an appointment. He stands awkwardly until I gesture toward the chair opposite my desk. Coffee? I offer. He shakes his head. I can't stay long. I wait. Experience has taught me the power of silence. I've consulted with a lawyer about annulment possibilities. The words tumble out like stones. Everything Grace told me was fabricated. She never attended Stanford. She never managed your parents' clinic. She's the receptionist. I absorbed this without surprise. The lies were always there, waiting for someone to notice. I'm sorry to hear that, I say, and mean it. Your parents made her the face of their practice while they... His voice trails off as he runs a hand through disheveled hair. The billing practices at their clinic, they've been charging Medicare for procedures never performed, using outdated codes deliberately. Grace helped them do it. The revelation lands like a slap, not because it's shocking, but because it confirms suspicions I buried years ago. I didn't mean to drag you back into this, Daniel continues. But when I started investigating Grace's background, I found patterns, discrepancies. Your name kept appearing in old clinic records, then vanishing completely 11 years ago. The skyline beyond my window shimmers in summer heat. I built this view from nothing, while they built their lives on fabrications. They used my college fund for Grace, I say simply. When I confronted them, they told me I wasn't Stanford material anyway. Daniel winces. The irony is, I never wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to improve medical systems, make them more efficient, more accurate. You've done that, Daniel says, glancing around my office. MedNova is transforming post-surgical care across the country. A silence stretches between us, comfortable in its honesty. The clinic is being investigated, he finally says. I submitted anonymous information to the proper authorities after discovering the extent of the fraud. They've been doing this for nearly 15 years. 15 years. Beginning right around the time I left for college. My phone buzzes with a text from Michael. Picking up Leo early, zoo day. Join us? A warmth spreads through my chest. This is my real family now. What will you do? I ask Daniel. He straightens his shoulders. File for annulment, cooperate with investigators, start over. He hesitates. I came to apologize for my unwitting role in reconnecting you with your past. And to ask, do you plan to get involved in the investigation? The question hangs between us, heavy with implication. I could destroy them completely. One phone call from the CEO of MedNova to the Medicare fraud investigators would accelerate everything. No, I say, finally. I built my life separate from theirs. I intend to keep it that way. Relief washes across his face. Thank you for seeing me. After Daniel leaves, I stand at my window, watching traffic flow 40 stories below. My phone vibrates with a voicemail notification. Grace's number, the third this week. Michael calls as I'm gathering my things to meet them at the zoo. You sound tired, he says. Daniel Brooks came to see me. The family clinic is under investigation for Medicare fraud. A pause. Are you okay? Yes. The answer surprises me with its truth. Are you going to get involved? I watch a red-tailed hawk circle the skyscrapers, riding thermals with effortless grace. I was thinking about what you said last week, about how my success is already their greatest punishment. I stand by that, Michael says, but it's your choice. My computer chimes with an incoming email. An attorney representing the Medicare Fraud Investigation Division, requesting information about my time at Collins Family Practice. Attached are documents requiring my testimony. They want me to testify, I tell Michael. What will you do? I consider the question. Part of me wants to delete the email, refuse the request. Let whatever happens to them happen without my fingerprints anywhere near it. Another part remembers patients who trusted them. Elderly men and women whose Medicare benefits were stolen. I'll forward them copies of the clinic's original records from when I worked there, I decide. Nothing more, nothing less, just the facts. I'm proud of you, Michael says. My phone buzzes again. Another voicemail from Grace. Her third today. The first one begged for money. The second threatened to tell Leo the truth about his mother. I don't need to hear the third. I press delete without listening, the small action surprisingly final. Leo wants to see the new tiger cubs, Michael says, his voice a welcome anchor to my real life. Tell him I'm on my way. I gather my bag, pausing at the door to look back at my office. The Boston Memorial contract waits on my desk, another hospital ready to implement the system I built from nothing but determination and long nights. I close the door behind me, leaving Grace's voicemail in digital oblivion where it belongs. Some debts can never be repaid. Some wounds never fully heal. But I've learned that moving forward doesn't require forgiveness. Sometimes it just requires letting go. The purple coneflowers bend towards sunlight. I pinch back another spent bloom, adding it to the collection in my palm. 6 months have passed since the wedding. 6 months of breathing easier, like finally stepping out of shoes that never quite fit. Leo races between the raised beds, his Batman cape fluttering behind him. Mom, can I water the tomatoes? Start with the peppers, I tell him, pointing to the drooping leaves. They're thirsty today. He grabs his small watering can, tongue poking out the corner of his mouth as he concentrates on not spilling. The mid-May sun warms my shoulders through my t-shirt, no designer labels here, just comfort in my own space. Michael appears at the patio door, 3 glasses of lemonade balanced on a tray. Reinforcements, he calls, descending the steps into our modest garden. His surgeon's hands, the same ones that perform delicate heart valve replacements now, pass lemonade to our son with exaggerated ceremony. Thank you, good sir. Leo responds with a wobbly bow that nearly spills his drink. Michael's eyes meet mine over Leo's head. The unspoken conversation passes between us. This is what matters. This garden, this boy, this life we built from nothing but determination and truth. The Davis Hospital Board approved the patient monitoring system. Michael says casually, though we both know what this means. The 5th major hospital chain to adopt MedNova's technology this year alone. Thousands more patients who will recover safely because of what we created. That's number 5, Leo announces proudly, counting on his fingers. Mom's helping all the sick people get better faster. I ruffle his hair, amazed at how he absorbs everything. That's the idea, buddy. The doorbell chimes from inside. Michael raises an eyebrow. Expecting something? FedEx, probably. Those component samples from Switzerland. But when Michael returns, his expression has shifted. He holds a certified letter, the return address visible even from where I stand. Grace Collins, Brooks. My stomach tightens, the familiar knot I thought I'd finally untangled. I'll be in my office. The envelope sits on my desk for 17 minutes, while I finish reviewing quarterly projections. Michael leans against the doorframe, silent support. When I finally slit it open, a single sheet of cream-colored stationery slides out, covered in Grace's careful handwriting. Amber, the clinic closed last month. Not because of anything you did, because of everything Mom and Dad did. The investigation found billing irregularities going back 15 years. Daniel left me. He said he couldn't build a life with someone he couldn't trust. He was right. I'm not writing to ask for money. I know better now. I'm writing because I need to tell you that you were never the problem. I was raised to believe your intelligence threatened mine. Your independence undermined my security. I believed them when they said cutting you off necessary. I was wrong, they were wrong, and I'm sorry. Grace. Michael doesn't ask what it says. He waits until I fold the letter and place it back in its envelope. What will you do? He asks. Nothing dramatic, I answer, turning to my computer. I open a document, type for several minutes, then print a single page. I slide it into a MedNova envelope with the letter I've written. 2 weeks later, I stand at the edge of the American Medical Technology Conference in Chicago, watching my team demonstrate our latest innovations to a crowd of healthcare professionals. The red Mednova booth draws attention, our reputation preceding us now. A flash of movement catches my eye, someone in pale blue scrubs near the education pavilion. Grace, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, listens intently to a speaker discussing entry-level medical coding certification. Our eyes meet across the crowded exhibition hall. No gasps this time, no drama, just quiet recognition. She holds the Mednova internship application I sent her, clutched like a lifeline. I offer a small nod, not forgiveness exactly, but acknowledgement. She returns it, eyes bright with something that might be determination. We don't approach each other. Some relationships are completed, not continued. That evening, I finalized the paperwork for the Collins first-generation medical scholarship. Not named for my parents, but reclaiming my birth name for something better. 20 students without family support will receive full tuition and mentorship next fall. Back home, I kneel in our garden again, digging small holes for new seedlings. Leo helps, his small hands patting soil around tender roots. Some plants don't grow well next to others, I explain, showing him how to space the seedlings. They need their own space to thrive. Like people? He asks, surprisingly perceptive. Smart boy, I whisper, kissing his forehead. Yes, like people. The sun slants golden across our yard. Through the kitchen window, I see Michael preparing dinner, moving easily through the space we've created together. I press another seed into the dark earth, covering it gently. Some roots you're given, others you get to choose. I stand in Mom's kitchen, watching her fuss with the tea kettle. Sunlight streams through the gauzy curtains, catching dust motes that dance in the air like tiny memories. This room hasn't changed since I was 10. Same yellow wallpaper, same cookie jar shaped like a plump hen. Maya, I really appreciate you coming over, Mom says, patting my arm. Her silver-streaked hair is pulled into a neat bun, librarian proper even in retirement. I just can't figure out this banking app. Everything used to be so simple with paper statements. No problem. I smile, the dutiful daughter as always. 31 years old, and still playing tech support. Where's your phone? On the table. Let me grab us some water. She bustles into the kitchen, and I reach for her phone, a new model I convinced her to upgrade to last Christmas. The screen lights up with a notification. Group chat. Torah's inner circle. Julianne. Ugh, she's complaining about Harper's business plan again. My heart stops, then hammers against my ribs like it wants to escape. The message is so specific, so cruel, and the chat name Torah's inner circle implies there's an outer circle, me. My hand moves on its own, tapping the notification. The chat opens. Harper. She thinks everyone lives in an Excel file like her. Good thing Mom didn't invite her last Sunday. Sunday. The day Mom said she wasn't feeling well when I offered to bring over soup. The day I spent alone in my apartment catching up on client files. My eyes drift upward to earlier messages. Elaine. Mom. Confirmed. Grandma Madeline's $90,000 fund will be released on Friday. Julianne. Perfect. I'll use my $45,000 for the kids' UNC college fund. Already told my husband. Harper. Thank you, Mom. $45,000 will be enough for my studio. Elaine, Mom. Remember, we agreed not to tell Maya. She doesn't need it, and will just complicate things. This is for the best. My lungs forget how to work. $90,000. Split 2 ways, not 3. Grandma Madeline died 4 months ago. Her favorite wooden spoon still hangs in this kitchen. She taught me to bake snickerdoodles on that counter right there, her soft hands guiding mine. You're so careful, Maya. So precise. That's a gift. I hear Mom's footsteps returning and quickly set the phone down exactly as I found it. My face settles into a mask, the one I've perfected through years of family dinners where Julianne bragged about her perfect children, Harper complained about her latest artistic crisis, and I sat quietly, keeping track of who needed tax help. Here we go, Mom says, setting down 2 glasses of ice water. Now show me how to use this thing. For the next 20 minutes, I walk her through the banking app setup, my voice steady and professional. My hands don't shake, my eyes don't water. I am the perfect accountant, the reliable daughter, helping her mother manage her finances while pretending I don't know she's stealing my inheritance. You're such a lifesaver, Mom says when we finish. What would we do without you? I wonder, I reply, my voice carrying just enough edge that her smile falters. But she doesn't notice. Not really. She never has. Later, I grip my steering wheel so tight my knuckles blanch white against the black leather. Rain starts to patter against the windshield, matching the rhythm of thoughts pounding in my head. What would they do without me? The memory surfaces like a bubble breaking through water. Me, at 16, hunched over the dining table surrounded by tax forms while Dad paced behind me. That's our reliable girl, he'd said, clapping me on the shoulder as I finished their taxes. What would we do without you? Outside the window, Julianne and Harper had been climbing into Mom's station wagon, laughing as they headed to the mall. I'd wanted to go too, but someone had to fix the mess Dad had made of their finances. The reliable one, the responsible one, the useful one, never the loved one. I park outside my apartment building but can't summon the energy to exit the car. The realization settles over me like concrete hardening. They never loved me. They loved my function. I think of all the nights I spent organizing Harper's chaotic business records, all the hours explaining college savings plans to Julianne, all the weekends installing software on Dad's computer while he watched golf, and all the times I swallowed my opinions, my desires, my needs, because I was the practical one. The one who didn't need emotional support or inclusion because I had my sensible career and my sensible apartment and my sensible life. When I finally make it inside, my apartment feels different. Smaller. The sleek furniture and minimalist decor that once seemed so adult now look like a hotel room, a place for passing through, not living. My gaze catches on the expensive camera equipment in the corner. The Nikon D850 with specialized lenses. The lighting kit. The props. That silly hobby, Mom calls it. Such an expensive distraction, Julianne says. So technical, not really art, Harper sniffs. The one thing I've done for myself, the passion I've pursued despite their dismissal. I cross the room and pick up the camera. The weight feels solid in my hands, unlike everything else in my life that has just evaporated into lies. Something shifts inside me. The hurt is still there, throbbing like a fresh bruise. But something else rises alongside it, something cold and clear and terrifying in its clarity. I've spent my entire life being useful to people who see me as nothing but a resource, a tool, a function. No more. I set the camera down gently, then open my laptop. My fingers hover over the keyboard. For a moment, my first instinct kicks in to fix this, to organize it, to make it all tidy and proper. Instead, I open a new document and type 3 words. The inner circle. And beneath it, I begin to make a list. The blue glow of my laptop screen illuminates my face at 2 a.m. My apartment feels too quiet, like it's holding its breath along with me. I haven't slept since leaving Mom's house, since discovering I'm not part of their inner circle. My hands hover above the keyboard, trembling slightly. Data doesn't lie. That's what I've built my career on. I type in the password to our family cloud storage, the one I created years ago, the one I pay for monthly so Julianne could store her kids' school photos and Harper could back up her artistic portfolio. The login screen blinks, then opens to the familiar folder structure. You can organize our digital lives anytime, Maya, Mom had said, patting my shoulder when I set it up. What would we do without you? I navigate through the main directories until I spot an unfamiliar folder. Trust, Docs. My pulse quickens. Of course they'd use Grandma Madeline's initial rather than spelling it out. They didn't want me to find it during my regular maintenance of their files. Inside sit 2 documents. The first, Harper, Studio, Plan, PDF. The second, Madeline, Torres, Trust, PDF. I open Harper's plan first. It's exactly what I expected, disorganized, full of grammatical errors, with wildly optimistic financial projections. A photography studio, with no business model beyond, I'll take pictures of whatever inspires me. No market research, no competitive analysis. Just aspirational Pinterest boards and a budget that makes no accounting sense. My fingers twitch toward Excel. I could fix this. I could create a proper business plan, adjust the numbers to something workable, create a framework that might actually succeed. It would take me maybe 3 hours. My hand hovers over the mouse. No. I close the file without changing a thing. The second document opens with the formal heading, Last Will and Testament of Madeline Eleanor Torres. I scan through the legalese, my CPA training, making quick work of the dense paragraphs. Then I find it, on page 7, section 4.2. The sum of $90,000, to be given to my daughter, Elaine Torres, to be distributed for the benefit of her daughters, as she sees fit. As she sees fit. 4 innocuous words that give my mother complete discretion. Legally, she can do whatever she wants with the money. Morally, she's stealing from me. The loophole is perfect, designed for flexibility, weaponized for exclusion. My stomach lurches. I rush to the bathroom, certain I'm going to be sick, but nothing comes up. Just dry heaves and the taste of betrayal. Back at my desk, I stare at the documents, the reality sinking deeper with each passing minute. The money will be dispersed this Friday. In 4 days, my sisters will each have $45,000, and I'll have nothing. Not the money which stings, but nothing of what I thought was my place in this family. I reach for my phone and dial the only person who might understand the legal and emotional mess I'm facing. Maya? Mark's voice is thick with sleep. It's nearly 3 in the morning. What's wrong? Mark, hypothetical. My voice sounds strange, detached. If a trustee of a discretionary fund decides to exclude one beneficiary based on the assumption they don't need the money, what's the recourse? A pause. That's not a hypothetical, is it? No. Mark sighs, and I hear rustling as he sits up in bed. The as trustee sees fit language gives a lot of latitude. But if there's evidence of bad faith or prejudice in the decision-making, Maya, you need a lawyer. Today. I hang up after promising to call his attorney friend in the morning. Then I stare at my phone, thumbs hovering over the keyboard. I type out a carefully worded email to my mother. Mom, for my personal financial planning, could you please send me a copy of Grandma Madeline's trust documents? Thanks. Professional, calm, reasonable. Her response comes back within minutes, despite the hour. Oh, honey, it's all very complicated. Let's not worry about boring paperwork. Let's discuss it at Sunday dinner. Have you ever felt that sinking feeling? When you ask a simple question, and the answer tells you everything you need to know? Maya knew, let's discuss it, meant let's find a way to handle you. Sunday, 2 days after the Friday disbursement. By then, the money will be gone, divided, spent, hidden away from me. I look at the email again. The way she calls the legal document, boring paperwork, the dismissive tone, the stall tactic, my phone buzzes. A text from Julianne. Maya, why are you bothering Mom about legal stuff at this hour? Is everything okay? You know how she gets confused by all that financial jargon. It's starting already. The coordinated defense, the gaslighting, making me feel unstable for asking a simple, direct question. I don't respond. Instead, I take screenshots of everything, the hidden folder, the trust document, the emails, the texts, and save them to a new folder on my personal drive labeled Evidence. For the first time in my life, I'm seeing the pattern clearly. The roles we've all played. Julianne, the golden child who deserves everything. Harper, the baby who needs protecting. Mom, the weak-willed enabler who hides behind what's best for everyone. And me, the reliable function. Not a daughter, but a tool. I think of all the tax returns I've prepared, all the technical problems I've solved, all the financial advice I've given freely, lovingly, believing it was my contribution to our family bond. What a fool I've been. The Monday morning light creeps through my blinds. I haven't slept, but my mind has never been clearer. I pick up my camera, the one hobby they've all dismissed as too expensive and not really art like Harper's work. Through the viewfinder, I see my apartment differently. Not as a temporary space until I find something real, as Mom always suggests, but as mine. The first step toward a life that belongs to me alone. I set the camera down and make a call to the attorney Mark recommended. This is Maya Torres, I say when the receptionist answers. I need to discuss a trust dispute. My voice doesn't waver. For the first time, I'm not fixing someone else's problem. I'm solving my own. Later that morning, my phone lights up with Julianne's name. I stare at it, counting 3 full rings before answering. A small act of rebellion. Hello? I keep my voice neutral. Maya, thank God. Julianne's voice drips with manufactured concern. Mom's really upset. You're making her feel grilled. What's this about the trust? You know you're always so intense about money. We're just worried about you. A familiar heat rises in my chest, the burn of being misunderstood, misrepresented, manipulated. Classic Julianne, twisting reality until I question my own perceptions. Gaslighting, wrapped in sisterly concern. The old Maya would have apologized. The old Maya would have backpedaled, desperate to smooth things over. I take a slow breath. Julianne, I'm simply requesting a financial document. It's not intense. It's standard practice. Please have Mom send it. Silence crackles through the connection. I can almost see her face, the widened eyes, the slight parting of lips. She expected me to fold like a cheap lawn chair. Well, that's not. She stumbles over her words, then snaps. Whatever, Maya, and hangs up. I set my phone down, surprised by the steadiness of my hands. A strange calm settles over me, like the quiet after a thunderstorm. Later that evening, I type out a message to the family group chat, not the inner circle. Of course, but the one where I'm included. Family dinner tomorrow at 6? I have some important financial news to discuss. I know exactly what I'm doing. They can't resist those magic words, important financial news. In their world, it might mean tax loopholes or investment opportunities. Something they can extract from me. Tomorrow arrives with unseasonable heat, thick and oppressive. I park in front of my parents' brick colonial, the house where I learned to be useful instead of loved. I straighten my blouse, grab my leather portfolio, and walk to the door like I'm heading into a board meeting. Inside, the air conditioning blasts against my skin. The dining room table gleams under Mom's good china. Dad fusses with a bottle of wine while Mom arranges a centerpiece of late-season dahlias. Harper slouches in a chair, scrolling through her phone. Julianne arranges her napkin in her lap, her posture perfect. Maya, Dad booms, as if volume can substitute for warmth. Come in, come in. Wine? No, thank you. I slide into my usual chair, the one with the wobbly leg that no one else wants. Mom sets a platter of roast chicken on the table. So what's this financial news? Did you get a promotion? Dinner progresses with painful small talk. Dad rambles about his golf game. Julianne brags about her oldest son's soccer tournament. Harper mentions a gallery showing interest in her work. I pick at my food, letting the tension build until I can't stand it anymore. I set my fork down with a soft clink against bone china. I know about the inner circle. The silence is absolute. Even the house seems to hold its breath. And I know what you're all planning to do with Grandma Madeline's $90,000. Mom's hand flutters to her throat. Dad's jaw tightens. Harper stares at her plate, but Julianne recovers first, her voice controlled, reasonable. Look, Maya, you're successful. You have a great career. She leans forward, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. Do you know how expensive tuition at UNC is? My kids need to go to college. Harper needs a start. This is about real need. Don't be so selfish. The word selfish lands like a slap. How many times have I stayed up late fixing their tax returns? How many weekends have I sacrificed installing software on Dad's computer? How many hours have I spent organizing Harper's chaotic business records? Mom twists her napkin, the linen wrinkling between her fingers. We didn't want to make it awkward for you. Legally, I'm the trustee anyway. Dad pushes back in his chair, the legs scraping against hardwood. Don't be disrespectful, Maya. It was a family decision. A family decision. The 3 words echo in my head, revealing the truth with perfect clarity. A family decision made without the family member who spends her life making their lives easier. I look at them, one by one. Mom, with her pinched expression. Dad, red-faced and defensive. Julianne, self-righteous. Harper, uncomfortable but silent. A family decision. I repeat softly. So that's it. I stand up. I don't yell. I don't cry. The calmness that settles over me is strange and powerful. Thank you for the clarification. Maya, don't be dramatic. Julianne starts, but I'm already walking away. I turn at the doorway, looking back at the tableau they make, frozen in their seats, silverware suspended, faces caught between anger and uncertainty. Enjoy your dinner. The front door closes behind me with a quiet click that feels more final than a slam. In my car, I sit with both hands on the wheel, but don't start the engine. The spring evening wraps around me, fireflies beginning to pulse in the gathering dusk. Through the dining room window, I can see them resuming their meal, heads bent together in urgent conversation. For the first time, I see them not as my family but as strangers, connected to me by accident of birth. People who would take what is mine because they've decided I don't need it. I drive home, my mind crystallizing around a new purpose. At my apartment, I open my laptop and create a new document. I type every word they said tonight, recording the conversation verbatim while it's fresh in my memory. I date it, title it, Dinner, Confrontation, Memo, PDF, and save it. Then I email the memo, the trust documents I found, and my discovery notes to the probate lawyer Mark recommended. His response comes an hour later. They have the legal high ground on the discretionary clause, but this memo shows clear collusion and bad faith. What do you want, Miss Torres? I glance at my camera equipment sitting in the corner, the one passion they've dismissed as a silly hobby, an expensive distraction, not really art. What do I want? My fingers hover over the keyboard, then type with perfect clarity. I want my share. And then, I want to be free. My lawyer's settlement and release agreement sits on my laptop screen, stark and professional. None of the emotion that's been choking me for days appears in this document. Just clear, concise, legal language stating what I deserve. My 1/3 share of Grandma Madeline's money, $30,000 in exchange for releasing my mother from any further claims. This is straightforward, my lawyer had said during our call. No judge would view this as unreasonable. It's literally asking for your fair share, nothing more. I stare at the send button for a full minute before clicking it. The email wings its way to my mother, with Julianne and my lawyer copied. Then I close my laptop and wait. Hours pass, no response. I check my phone obsessively, watch the clock tick past dinner time, and still nothing. By 10 p.m., I've convinced myself they're consulting their own lawyer, drafting a careful response. My sleep that night comes in broken fragments. The notification ping startles me awake at 6:17 a.m. Thursday. I grab my phone, expecting an email, but it's Instagram instead. Harper has posted. My thumb hovers over the notification, a knot forming in my stomach. The image fills my screen. Harper, her eyes red-rimmed, one perfect tear sliding down her cheek. The calculated vulnerability in the photo hits me like a slap. So heartbroken. Her caption reads, I'm trying to follow my dream and start my own business, but my own sister is trying to take my funding away. Some people just value money more than family. My hands shake as I read it again. The comment section already has sympathetic replies from her friends, people I've known since childhood offering support, expressing shock at my apparent cruelty. Before I can process this public ambush, my phone buzzes with a text, then another, and another. Aunt Deborah. Maya. What's this about you bullying Harper? Uncle Tom. Disappointed to hear you're causing trouble for your sisters. Cousin Rachel. Family should come first. I thought your parents raised you better. The avalanche continues. By 7 a.m., my phone has become a portal to a world where I'm suddenly the villain in a story I didn't write. I don't reply to any of them. Instead, I take screenshots of every post and text, saving them to a folder I label Public, Smear, Campaign. Then I forward the entire collection to my lawyer with a single line. They're responding this way instead of addressing the legal document. Her reply comes 10 minutes later. This changes things. Stand by. I force myself to shower and dress for work. As I'm drinking my coffee, trying to steady my nerves for the day ahead, my father calls. I almost don't answer, but some residual sense of obligation makes me pick up. Maya. His voice booms immediately, not bothering with a greeting. I can't get into my retirement account. You changed the password, didn't you? You're locking us out. This is childish. The accusation is so unexpected that I laugh a short, humorless sound. Dad, I haven't touched your accounts in 6 months. I open my laptop and pull up my password manager. The password is the same one I set for you 2 years ago. Robert Golf, 1960. I hear keyboard clicks through the phone, followed by a long silence. Oh, he finally says. It worked. He hangs up without thanking me. I stare at the phone, a strange calm settling over me. This single interaction crystallizes everything about our relationship. Even as they paint me as the enemy, they still expect my help. Even as they exclude me from their inner circle, they depend on my functional role in their lives. My email pings. It's a group message from Julianne to our extended family, blind copying me, a rookie mistake that shows how little she understands about email. We are so worried about Maya, she writes. She's threatening our mother over money. She's not herself. I forward this to my lawyer too. By now, I've stopped feeling the sting of betrayal. I'm watching their panic with the detached interest of an accountant reviewing a client's mistaken calculations. They're revealing something profound. They assume I'll use my functional power to hurt them, because that's exactly what they would do. 20 minutes later, my lawyer calls. I've just sent an email to your mother and her newly retained counsel, she says, sounding pleased. I thought you might want to know exactly what it says. She reads it to me, and I feel the corner of my mouth twitch upward. My client offered a simple, fair settlement, the email states. In response, your clients have initiated a coordinated public smear campaign. See attached. My client will no longer be accepting $30,000. The new offer is $35,000 covering her share plus legal fees and damages for defamation. You have 24 hours to accept, or we will see you in probate court to formally contest the entire distribution based on trustee bad faith. Your choice. I sit there, phone pressed to my ear, stunned by how precisely this email captures what I couldn't articulate, that their response has only strengthened my position. Their panic has exposed the truth they know they're wrong. Is that acceptable to you? My lawyer asks when I don't immediately respond. Yes, I say, and something shifts inside me. Actually, it's perfect. She chuckles. Their lawyer will advise them to take this deal immediately. The social media campaign was a serious miscalculation. In trying to pressure you emotionally, they've created documented evidence of coordinated harassment. After we hang up, I sit at my kitchen table, a strange lightness in my chest. For the first time since discovering the inner circle chat, I feel something beyond betrayal or anger. I feel powerful. My phone rings again. It's Julianne. I decline the call and send her a text. All communication through lawyers now, please. She types back immediately. Maya, don't be like this. We're family. The word that once would have made me fold now bounces off me. I don't respond. Harper posts again, this time in her Instagram stories. Dealing with a toxic family member is so hard. You try to protect them from their own worst impulses, and they lash out. I screenshot it for my growing file but feel nothing. The online performance that was meant to wound me now seems pathetically transparent. When my phone rings a third time, it's my mother. I let it go to voicemail, then listen to her message. Maya, honey. Her voice wavers. This has all gotten so out of hand. Can't we just talk? Person to person? Mother to daughter? The old Maya would have melted at this appeal. The new Maya forwards the voicemail to her lawyer with a simple note. For your information, attempted direct contact despite legal representation. By 5 p.m., I receive an email from my lawyer with settlement confirmed in the subject line. My mother's lawyer has agreed to the $35,000 payment, to be wired on Friday the same day the trust fund will be dispersed. Congratulations. My lawyer writes. They folded quite predictably once they realized their emotional tactics had backfired. The agreement will arrive for your signature tomorrow. I close my laptop and walk to the window of my apartment. Across the street, a young couple laughs as they walk their dog. A postal worker delivers mail. Cars pass. The ordinary world continues, unaware that mine has transformed. I pick up my camera, the expensive one my family dismissed as a silly hobby, and feel its weight in my hands. Through the viewfinder, I frame a shot of the evening light, casting long shadows across my living room floor. Light and shadow, clarity and darkness, the contrasts that make a composition powerful. I understand now what I couldn't see before. My family never valued me, only what I could do for them. But in trying to exclude me, they've accidentally set me free. On Friday morning, my phone buzzes on the kitchen counter. Mom's name flashes on the screen, bypassing the lawyer barrier we'd established. For a moment, I consider letting it go to voicemail, but something tells me I need to hear this. One final attempt. Hello? I answer, my voice neutral, professional. Maya. Mom's voice breaks immediately. She's crying, hard sobs that would have once sent me rushing to fix whatever was wrong. Honey, please. You're tearing this family apart. Over money. Is that really what you want? I say nothing, just wait, as the silence stretches between us. Your grandmother would be so ashamed of you. She continues, her voice steadying with practiced manipulation. Madeline always taught us that family comes first. Always. And here you are with lawyers and demands and threats. I watch a cardinal land on my windowsill, bright red against the pale morning light. Grandma Madeline had loved cardinals. Called them little messengers. Strange timing. Just let it go, Maya. Please. Be the bigger person here. That's what you've always done. That's who you are. There it is. The line that has ruled my life. Be the bigger person. Translation. Swallow your needs. Ignore the unfairness. Maintain the peace at your own expense. The ultimate test. My throat tightens, but not with the usual guilt or obligation. Something else rises in me, clear and cool as spring water. Mom, I say quietly, you tore this family apart. You did it in secret, in the inner circle. I'm just sending the bill for my exit. Maya, that's not fair. This isn't a discussion for you and me anymore. Please talk to my lawyer. Don't you dare hang up on me. Her voice rises, the sweetness vanishing. After everything we've done for you. I press the red button. End call. My hands should be shaking. My heart should be racing. I've never hung up on my mother in 31 years. Instead, I feel nothing but peace. Like setting down a heavy suitcase I've been carrying for decades. The cardinal flies away. I return to my coffee, take a sip. It's gone cold, but I drink it anyway. 20 minutes later, my phone rings. This time, it's my lawyer. Miss Torres. They've accepted the terms. $35,000. To be wired on today when the trust is dispersed. They're asking for a full release of claims. That's what we offered. I reply. Yes. She sounds slightly surprised. It appears your mother's lawyer convinced them this was the least damaging option. Do you want to proceed? Yes. I'll prepare the paperwork immediately. 3 hours. I go to work. I file tax extensions for clients. I eat lunch with Mark, who asks if I'm okay. I'm fine, I tell him. And for once, it's not a lie. That afternoon, my phone chimes with a banking alert. I checked the notification. Deposit? $35,000. Wire transfer. The money that was kept from me, that would have been secretly divided between my sisters without me ever knowing, now sits in my account. Not just the $30,000 I was owed, but an extra $5,000 for their attempt to smear my name. I look at the number for a long moment. $35,000. Enough for Harper to start her studio with money left over. Enough for a significant chunk of Julianne's kids' college funds. And for me? Freedom. I open my laptop and begin to type. To Elaine, Robert, Julianne, Harper. Subject. Formal disengagement of pro bono services. This email confirms receipt of the $35,000 settlement regarding the Madeline Torres Trust. As of this date, I am formally disengaging as your pro bono accountant and technical advisor. I pause, considering my next words carefully. This isn't about revenge. This is about setting boundaries. This is about finally charging for services I've provided free for decades. For Robert, your retirement account login is RobertGolf1960. Please contact Vanguard for all future support. For Julianne, your children's education grant, FAFSA applications are due March 1st. I recommend contacting the UNC Financial Aid Office directly. For Harper, your quarterly estimated tax payments, Form 1040 ES, are due January 15th. Please note that your $45,000 capital injection is taxable income unless structured as a formal loan. I highly recommend you retain a professional CPA immediately. Failure to file can result in significant IRS penalties and interest. Please remove me from all family data plans and shared accounts within 48 hours. My finger hovers over the send button. I read through the email again. Cold, professional, terrifying in its helpfulness. The natural consequences of losing their free family resource are spelled out with perfect clarity. I hit send. Within minutes, My phone explodes. Text messages from all of them. Calls from Dad, then Julianne, then Harper. I silence each one, turn off notifications. I don't need to hear their panic or their anger or their sudden realization of what they've lost. I stand and walk to my window, looking out at the city below. People rushing about their Friday afternoon, unaware that my life has just been cleaved into before and after. Behind me, silenced, my family is discovering what it means to no longer have access to Maya Torres, CPA. They are learning what happens when the person you've used as a resource decides to step away. It's not my responsibility anymore. Their finances, their passwords, their tax problems, their confusion about forms and deadlines and consequences. For the first time, I feel the weight of it, everything I've carried for them. The hours spent fixing Robert's investment mistakes. The weekends lost to sorting through Harper's chaotic receipts. The endless patient explanations to Julianne about college savings plans while she checked her phone and half listened. All the times I swallowed my own needs because I was the practical one, the reliable one, the one who didn't need emotional support or inclusion because I had my sensible career and my sensible apartment and my sensible life. I pick up my camera from its shelf. The weight feels right in my hands. I adjust the aperture, focus the lens on the city beyond my window. Click. The sound is satisfying, definitive. This moment. This is the real inheritance from Grandma Madeline. Not the money, but the freedom. The permission to finally put myself first. To step out of the shadows of usefulness and into the light of my own life. I turn away from the window and begin researching commercial rents in downtown Raleigh. Photography studios. Business licenses. Website domains. $35,000. The seed money they said I didn't need. The inheritance they tried to steal. Now it will become the foundation of something entirely mine. My phone buzzes again. Elaine calling. I decline without hesitation. The inner circle is now a closed loop, spinning in confusion without their center. Without me. And I am exactly where I need to be. Free. Sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting golden patterns across polished hardwood floors. I adjust the aperture on my camera, framing the shot of my new photography studio in downtown Raleigh. 1 year since the family implosion, and here I stand, owner of Maya Torres Photography. The $35,000 settlement money they said I didn't need now surrounds me in gleaming equipment, professional lighting, and a space that breathes possibility. Funny how money works when it funds your dreams instead of others' expectations. This calls for a toast, Mark announces, appearing beside me with 2 champagne flutes. His tie is loosened after a day at the accounting firm, the life I left behind. To new beginnings, I say, accepting the glass. And to this incredible space. Mark whistles, looking around. Light years better than that soul-sucking cubicle at Pritchard & Sons. But seriously, Maya, he gestures to the elegant reception area with its carefully arranged portfolios. Are you sure you can handle the books for this place? Entrepreneurship is a whole different ballgame. The question would have worried me a year ago. Now I laugh. A sound so genuine it surprises even me. I think I've got it covered. I tap my laptop where my meticulously organized spreadsheets live. Turns out, my accounting skills work even better when I'm the one benefiting from them. Mark clinks his glass against mine. 2 skills well applied, then. I walk him toward a wall display featuring my latest corporate headshot series. CEOs and executives who once intimidated me now pay premium rates for my eye, my perspective. The irony doesn't escape me, they value what my family dismissed as a hobby. Did I tell you? Mark asks, pausing at the threshold. I saw your feature in Raleigh today. 40 under 40 is no small accomplishment. Pride warms my chest. Last year's recognition hadn't come for tax expertise or financial wizardry, but for building a thriving creative enterprise from scratch. For living authentically. Thanks for believing in me when I barely believed in myself, I tell him. After Mark leaves, I spot Amber, my assistant, frowning at her phone. She's 24, talented, with the same hunger for photography I had at her age. Everything okay? I ask. She sighs. My dad, another lecture about getting a real job with benefits, says I'm wasting my time with artsy stuff. Her fingers make frustrated air quotes. The words strike a chord so familiar it vibrates through my bones. I set down my camera and face her directly. Amber, listen to me. Your value isn't based on what you do for them. It's based on who you are. I gesture to her portfolio on the desk, images that capture emotion and light with rare intuition. Go build your life. You have my full support. Her eyes widen slightly, absorbing words I wish someone had told me a decade earlier. Later that evening, in my apartment, I edit client photos while jazz plays softly. My phone buzzes with a text. I glance down and the familiar name freezes my fingers above the keyboard. Mom. Hi, honey. It's been a year. I miss you. Can we please talk? A year ago, this message would have unleashed a hurricane inside me. Now I feel oddly calm as I read it. The wound has scarred over, not gone, but no longer bleeding. I consider my reply carefully, typing and deleting several versions before settling on the truth. I'm glad you reached out. I've forgiven you all for my own peace. But I'm not interested in reopening that door. I truly wish you well. I switch the phone to silent and return to my editing. The photograph on my screen shows a young entrepreneur standing confidently in front of her new store. I adjust the light balance, bringing warmth to her expression, clarity to her surroundings. For the first time in my life, I feel completely at peace. My family punished me for my success but ridiculed my passion. They took my inheritance because they decided I didn't need it. They were right. I didn't need the $30,000. But I also realized I didn't need them. What I needed was right here, all along, the courage to become myself. You're always so busy with that job of yours. A strange clarity washes over me. My voice comes out softer than I expect. You never asked me. You made sure I couldn't come. The silence that follows feels like a confession. This isn't the first time, is it? I continue, the realization blooming like a bruise. All those family trips I'd heard about after the fact. The holiday gatherings scheduled when I was unfortunately working. The pattern stretches back further than I can see. Mom steps forward, hand outstretched. Honey, you're overreacting. Let's sit down and... I place the cruise documents on the entry table. Without raising my voice or slamming a single door, I pick up my overnight bag and walk out into the evening air. Behind me, I hear my mother call my name, but for the first time in 28 years, I don't turn back. 30 minutes later, my apartment feels too quiet after the confrontation at my parents' house. I dump my overnight bag on the couch and sit cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by photo albums and shoeboxes of memorabilia I've dragged from the back of my closet. The carpet scratches against my bare legs as I spread everything in a semicircle around me. The first photo album falls open to Christmas 2018. Harper unwrapping a MacBook. Cody getting his first car, used but still worth thousands. Me holding up a scarf from Target with a $19.99 price tag still attached. My smile looks genuine in the photo. I remember believing it was all they could afford. I flip through old vacation photos, noticing a pattern I'd somehow missed for 28 years. Family trip to Yellowstone. Sorry, Rain. Someone needs to water the plants. Disney World. Your internship is that week, remember? Weekend in Napa. You wouldn't enjoy it anyway, honey. My phone buzzes. A text from Mom. We need to talk about this misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. As if finding evidence of deliberate exclusion could be misinterpreted. I silence my phone and pull my laptop closer, opening a spreadsheet titled Monthly Budget. Scrolling back through the entries, I highlight every transfer to my parents' account. $350. April. Dad's insulin costs went up. $1,400. June. Hospital copay for Dad's diabetes. $800. August. Mom's car needs transmission work. $2,800. Last month. Family emergency fund. The last one hits hardest, my Lake Tahoe money. Money they knew I'd been saving, tracking every extra design project, skipping lunches out, picking up weekend freelance work. Money they'd accepted while already holding cruise tickets with everyone's name but mine. My stomach clenches as another memory surfaces. Age 7. Watching Harper practice scales with her vocal coach while I sat at the kitchen table. Can I take piano lessons too? I'd asked Mom. We can't afford 2 kids in music lessons, Rain. Maybe next year. Next year never came. But Cody got guitar lessons 6 months later. The memories flood in faster now. Age 13. Sobbing at the kitchen table after learning I couldn't go on the 8th grade science trip to the Oregon coast. $400 is too much right now. Dad had said, patting my shoulder. 3 weeks later, they surprised Cody with a father-son camping trip that cost twice as much. College years, working 3 jobs while my siblings got their rent paid and car insurance covered. You're just so independent, honey, Mom would say. We know you can handle it. My phone rings again. Harper this time. I answer against my better judgment. Rain, this is ridiculous. You're making Mom cry. I found the cruise documents, Harper. It's not what you think. Her voice sounds rehearsed, like she's reading from a script. We meant to invite you, but Mom said you'd understand. You always do. The last 3 words hang between us. You always do. Not anymore, I whisper, ending the call. I walk to my bedroom closet and pull out a small box from the top shelf. Inside sits a shrink-wrapped jewelry-making kit, exactly like the one I begged for on my 9th birthday. The same kit Mom said was just too expensive before buying Harper her 3rd American Girl doll the following week. I bought this kit for myself last year on Etsy, $35. I've kept it sealed as a reminder, though of what I never quite articulated until now. My phone pings with a text from Cody. This is BS, Rain. We've always included you. Then another, you're being dramatic. Then, fine, how much do you want to let this go? I set the phone face down as my doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see Melissa holding a bottle of wine and takeout bags. My best friend since college, the person who's witnessed my dash to solve every family crisis for years. I figured you might need reinforcements, she says when I open the door. You look like hell. Found out my family's been deliberately excluding me from things for basically my entire life, I say, trying for casual and failing. Nothing major. Nothing major. Melissa steps inside, sets everything down, and pulls me into a hug that nearly breaks me. About damn time, you noticed. What? She pulls back, eyes serious. Rain, I've watched you drop everything for your family for years. Last Christmas, you spent a month's salary on their gifts and got socks in return. They call you for money, babysitting, emotional support, but when was the last time they showed up for you? The question hangs in the air, unanswerable. My phone lights up with a voicemail from Dad. Your mother's very upset. You're being ungrateful after all we've done for you. All they've done for me, I repeat, a hollow laugh escaping. Later that week, my coworker James brings me coffee after I explain why I've been distracted. My parents played favorites too. He says quietly, it messes with your head, makes you think you're the problem. That afternoon, I sit in Dr. Eleanor Warren's office, my therapist of 6 months, explaining the cruise situation. What I'm hearing, she says carefully, is that you've discovered a pattern that's been there your whole life. This isn't normal family behavior, Rain. I always thought I was overreacting. My voice sounds small. You weren't, and now you have choices about how to respond. Back home, surrounded by evidence of years of unequal treatment, I make a decision. I text Melissa. I'm done being convenient. For the first time in my life, it feels like the truth. 4 days later, my phone buzzes for the 14th time today. Uncle Jerry, this time someone I speak to maybe twice a year at family gatherings. The voicemail he leaves sounds rehearsed. Rainy girl, your mother is worried sick about you. Family disagreements happen, but you can't just disappear. Call her back, sweetheart. I add his number to my growing block list and pour another cup of coffee. Mom has recruited the extended family cavalry. Yesterday it was Aunt Patricia, before that Cousin Megan. Each one reading from the same invisible script. Forgive and forget. Family comes first. You're overreacting. The doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see Dad shifting from foot to foot, a paper bag clutched in his hands. For a moment, my finger hovers over the deadbolt. We haven't had a real conversation in years, just small talk about weather and his blood sugar levels. Now suddenly he wants to talk? I step back from the door. After 20 minutes, his car starts and pulls away. Later, I find a bag outside containing my favorite childhood cookies and a card that reads, "We need to talk. I miss you." The handwriting is Mom's. At work, an email from Harper circulates to several mutual friends. So worried about Rain. She's been acting strange lately, refusing to see family, ignoring calls. If any of you hear from her, please let us know she's okay. We're concerned about her mental state. I forward it to Dr. Warren with the subject line, Exhibit C. Her response comes within an hour. This is called flying monkeys. Classic family system preservation tactic. When Cody appears in our office lobby on Thursday, Tara from reception texts me a warning. I grab my laptop and slip out the back entrance, but he's waiting in the parking lot, leaning against my car. "You can't avoid me forever," he says, arms crossed over his chest. His face has the same righteous look he wore when we were kids, and he'd blame me for something he'd done. "I'm not avoiding you. I'm refusing to see you." There's a difference. I keep my keys between my fingers, though I know I won't need them as a weapon. Cody's anger has always been loud but harmless. "You're tearing this family apart," he says, voice rising. "Mom barely sleeps. Dad keeps checking his phone. The kids keep asking where Aunt Rain is." A laugh escapes me before I can stop it. "I'm tearing the family apart? I didn't plan a cruise without you." "That was different, we thought." "You thought what? That I wouldn't find out? That I'd keep giving you money forever while you all enjoyed vacations I paid for but wasn't invited to?" His face reddens. "It wasn't like that. We've been planning this cruise for 8 months. Mom thought." 8 months. The word hits me like a physical blow. I canceled my Lake Tahoe trip exactly 8 months ago. 8 months. I repeat, my voice steady despite the trembling in my chest. "You planned this cruise while telling me to cancel my vacation because money was tight and the family needed my savings." Something shifts in his expression. A flicker of shame quickly replaced by defensiveness. "You always help out. It's what you do." The parking lot around us blurs slightly as clarity washes over me. I was never really part of this family, was I? I was the backup plan, the safety net, the ATM. "That's not fair." "Thank you for watching." "No," I agree, stepping around him to unlock my car. "It wasn't." That evening, I call my cell provider and request a number change, effective immediately. The representative asks if I'm experiencing harassment. "Family," I say simply. "Say no more," she replies. "The new number will be active within the hour." At the bank the next morning, I close the joint account my parents have had access to since college. The balance shows 17 withdrawals in the past year, none made by me. I transfer the remaining balance to my personal account and request a new card. When the invitation to Harper's anniversary party arrives, I write, "I'm unavailable" on the RSVP card and mail it back the same day. The invitation to the family, 4th of July picnic, receives the same response. I set up an email filter that automatically replies to family messages with, "Thank you for your email. I am currently unavailable. XCOM, explained at ADI." With each boundary, my breathing comes easier. That same night, the travel agency website glows on my laptop screen as I enter my credit card information. 1 round-trip ticket to Barcelona. Departure in a month. I've always wanted to see Gaudi's architecture. The confirmation page appears, and for the first time in months, I smile a real smile that reaches my eyes. I pull a cardboard box from under my bed. Inside are childhood photos, report cards my parents never displayed, participation ribbons from events they never attended. I slide the box onto the top shelf of my closet. Not thrown away, but no longer where I can see it every day. The next day, at the jewelry store downtown, I try on a silver pendant I've admired for years but always deemed too extravagant. The weight of it against my collarbone feels right. The sales associate wraps it in tissue paper, but I ask to wear it now. "This purchase isn't revenge, doctor," Warren says during our Thursday session, noting the necklace. "This is reclamation. You're reclaiming resources that have always been yours to use." Next week, when my phone rings with an unfamiliar number, I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. "Rain?" Harper's voice sounds panicked. "Thank God. Your number was disconnected and I had to call everyone to find you. The babysitter canceled and I'm still on the cruise. Can you take the kids tomorrow? It's an emergency." "I'm unavailable," I say, using the same words I've written on every RSVP card. "But I'm unavailable," I repeat, and end the call. The next day, Melissa and I are sharing lunch when another unknown number appears. Cody this time, voice tight with stress. "My car broke down. The repair shop wants $800. Can you transfer it to my account? I'll pay you back next month." "I'm unavailable," I say, and hang up before he can respond. The final call comes 3 days later, while I'm booking a food tour in Barcelona. Mom's voice wavers between anger and panic. "The mortgage payment is due tomorrow and we're short. Your father's medical bills this month were higher than expected. We just need a little help. like you've always done. I watch a video of La Sagrada Familia while she speaks. The cathedral has been under construction for over a century, yet stands magnificent even in its incompletion. I'm unavailable, I say. The silence on the other end stretches until I think she might have hung up. Then, in a small voice I've never heard before, she asks, "What are we supposed to do without you?" The question contains the truth they've never acknowledged. They need me far more than I need them. Figure it out, I say, and press the red button on my screen. I stare at the Gaudi-designed ceiling in the video, its organic shapes reaching skyward like a forest made of stone. I count the days until my flight. I count the days until I walk those halls myself, alone but not lonely, carrying nothing but what I choose to bring. For the first time in my life, the weight of family obligation lifts from my shoulders, and I stand straight and tall. A week after the cruise, my phone buzzes with the 23rd text message since breakfast. I glance at the screen Cody again before silencing it completely. They returned from Alaska, and the desperation in their messages grows by the day. "We need to talk about what happened. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof because of this. Can you at least tell us you're alive?" I set my phone face down on my desk, noticing how my pulse no longer races when their names flash across my screen. The smallest victories still feel monumental. My coworker James glances over from his monitor. "Family still blowing up your phone?" "Like clockwork," I reply, turning back to my design project. "They just finished a luxury cruise and they manipulated me out of my vacation money to help fund. Now they're shocked I won't respond to their messages." James whistles low. "And they seriously expected you to just forget about it?" "They expected me to forgive it, like I always do." Later that evening, Melissa flops onto my couch with 2 glasses of wine. "Harper called me today. Said she's spending a fortune on professional childcare since you vanished." I accept the glass, feeling a twinge of something not guilt, but surprise at its absence. How terrible for her to pay for a service the rest of us have to pay for. "She also mentioned your mom is planning some kind of family emergency to lure you back." My laugh comes so suddenly it startles us both. Of course she is. Emergency is her love language. The following morning, an unfamiliar number lights up my screen. Against better judgment, I answer. "Rain?" My Aunt Deb's voice trembles. "Thank goodness. Your mother said you might be having a breakdown. She asked me to check if you're okay." The manipulation is so transparent it borders on comical. "I'm fine, Aunt Deb. Better than I've been in years, actually." "Oh." Confusion colors her voice. "Then why aren't you returning anyone's calls?" "Your father tried that old guilt trick he used when you were little, you know, the one about teaching you to ride a bike?" I smile, remembering the voicemail where he mentioned the bike lessons he never actually completed. How he pushed me down our steep driveway and walked away when I crashed, calling it learning independence. Meanwhile, Harper learned with his hand steady on her seat the entire time. "Tell them I'm unavailable," I say simply. 4 days later, Harper's text arrives. "The kids are devastated without Aunt Rain. Max cried himself to sleep asking for you." The same Max who sees me 3 times yearly at most. The same nephew who called me Rain Lady last Christmas because he'd forgotten my name. Cody's approach shifts from casual requests to barely contained fury. "Mom and Dad might be walking on eggshells around you, but I'm not. Some sister you turned out to be. My car payment is due Monday." Uncle Pete's annual family barbecue arrives, the gathering I've never missed in 15 years. I send my regrets this year. My cousin Jamie calls the next day. "It was the strangest thing," she says. "Your empty chair became this presence everyone kept glancing at. Aunt Susan made excuses about where you were until Uncle Pete asked straight out what happened." "What did she say?" "She tried the Rain's just busy with work line, but then your dad mentioned something about a cruise. And Aunt Catherine asked why you weren't invited." Jamie's voice drops to a whisper. The whole place went silent. Catherine was furious, said she'd never exclude one of her kids like that. Others agreed. "Your mom left early with a migraine." The image makes me smile as I glance around my apartment. The walls, once rental beige, now glow with the deep coral I've always loved but Mom called too attention-seeking. Abstract art I've chosen hangs where family photos once dominated. My promotion letter sits framed on my desk, the one I earned after finally having evenings free to work on the portfolio I'd postponed for years of family emergencies. My banking app pings. Another automatic savings deposit completed. Without the constant loans to my family, the numbers grow steadily each month. I've finally scheduled that trip to Spain. The confirmation sits in my inbox like a promise kept to myself. The doorbell rings on a Tuesday evening. Through the peephole, I see Mom standing there, her umbrella dripping, eyes red-rimmed. For a moment, my finger hovers over the lock, old habits rising like floodwater. I open the door but block the entrance. Rain. Her voice breaks. Thank God. We've been so worried. I wait, saying nothing. We're going to lose the house. The words tumble between sobs. The second mortgage. Your father's medical bills. Please help us one last time. Her hand reaches for mine, familiar in its expectation of compliance. But something has shifted inside me, tectonic plates rearranging my inner landscape. If I were the one standing here, I ask quietly, jobless, broke, desperate, would you take me in? The question hangs between us. Mom's mouth opens, closes, opens again, but no sound emerges. Her silence answers more honestly than words ever could. I nod once, understanding completely. Then I gently close the door. 2 days later, after the terrible encounter with my mother, the hostess at Bellini's leads me to the back of the restaurant. My heart thuds against my ribs when I spot them. Mom, Dad, Harper, and Cody, all seated at my favorite corner booth beneath the stained glass window. The same booth where we celebrated my college graduation 6 years ago. The only family celebration that was ever about me. Right on time, Mom says, with a brittle smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Melissa squeezes my elbow before sliding into the booth beside me, her presence a silent declaration that I won't face this alone. The manila folder in my hands feels heavier than it should. Dad clears his throat. We appreciate you agreeing to meet with us, Rain. His voice carries the formal tone he reserves for bank managers and car salesmen. Though you could have come alone, Harper adds, glancing pointedly at Melissa. Cody leans forward, elbows on the table. We need to put this whole misunderstanding behind us. The family isn't the same without you. They take turns speaking, their words flowing with practiced precision. Dad reminds me how they paid for braces when I was 12 and bought me a used car for high school graduation. Mom dabs at invisible tears, her voice trembling as she recounts the sacrifices they've made for this family. Harper and Cody alternate between guilt trips and appeals to family loyalty, their words overlapping in a choreographed dance. I wait until they finish, my fingers tracing the edge of the folder. Their speeches hang in the air like stale perfume. May I speak now? My voice comes out steadier than I expected. 4 pairs of eyes blink in surprise. I've never asked permission to speak before. I open the folder and place a spreadsheet on the table. This is a record of every financial contribution I've made to this family over the past decade, totaling $37,842. I tap the bottom figure. That includes the $2,800 I gave you for Dad's medical bills the same week you paid for your Alaska cruise. Mom's hand flies to her throat. I'm not finished. For the first time in my life, I interrupt her. The restaurant seems to grow quieter around us. I lay down a timeline next, handwritten on graph paper. Here's a record of family vacations, holiday gatherings, and celebrations going back 15 years. The highlighted dates are events I wasn't invited to or was told were canceled due to money concerns. Yellow highlighter covers nearly half the page. And this, I continue, placing a photograph on the table, is the jewelry-making kit I begged for when I was 9. The one that was too expensive at $35. I bought it myself last year. I keep it sealed as a reminder. My voice doesn't rise, doesn't crack, yet somehow it fills the space between us. Stronger than their rehearsed speeches, and louder than their demands. Other diners have fallen silent. A waiter hovers nearby, unsure whether to approach. Mom stares at the papers, her makeup-perfect face draining of color. Dad shifts in his seat, tugging at his collar. Harper studies her hands. Only Cody meets my eyes, his expression hardening. So what? Dad suddenly slams his palm on the table, making silverware jump. We've always done everything for you. You've never appreciated everything we've sacrificed. The outburst draws stares from nearby tables. I feel Melissa tense beside me, but I remain calm. Then it should be easy. I say softly, to name 3 things you've done for me that you didn't do for Harper or Cody. Just 3. Just 3. The silence that follows stretches so long I can hear the kitchen staff calling orders. Dad opens his mouth, closes it. Mom's face crumples. Not in the controlled way she uses to manipulate, but in genuine distress as realization dawns. A tear smudges her mascara, something I've never seen before. Harper's eyes widen as she glances between our parents, seeing their failure to answer what should be a simple question. Cody slumps back against the booth, the fight draining from him. I don't hate any of you, I say, gathering my documents back into the folder. But I can't keep pretending. If there's ever going to be a real relationship between us, things need to change. I pull out a final sheet of paper and place it in the center of the table. These are my terms: family therapy, at least 6 sessions before I'll consider attending any gatherings. Complete financial independence. No more loans or contributions either way. A public acknowledgement of how I've been treated, and a genuine apology. And time. I need space to heal. Mom reaches for my hand, but stops midway when I don't extend mine to meet hers. You can't just dictate terms to your family, Dad protests, but his voice lacks conviction. I'm not dictating. I'm protecting myself. I slide out of the booth, Melissa following. Take time to think about it. My number hasn't changed again. As we walk toward the exit, I feel lighter than I have in years. Behind us, I hear my mother's quiet sobs and my father's awkward attempts at comfort. Harper calls my name once, but doesn't follow. Outside in the evening air, Melissa squeezes my shoulder. You okay? I take a deep breath, surprised to find I'm not shaking. Yeah, for the first time in a long time, I think I actually am. The stars above Portland shine brighter tonight, as if they too are surprised by my newfound strength, and I need to prepare for my Barcelona trip soon. This time, I finally chose myself. Months later, I am preparing my first Thanksgiving with my chosen family. I straighten the cornucopia centerpiece on my dining table, adjusting the fall-colored napkins one last time. The aroma of roasting turkey and apple pie fills my new home, my real home, purchased 3 months ago with the promotion money I'd once earmarked for family emergencies. The doorbell chimes, and I open it to find Melissa balancing a casserole dish, her husband Tom carrying wine. Happy Thanksgiving. She wraps me in a one-armed hug that feels like sunshine. Within the hour, my table brims with people who chose to be here. James from work, and his partner Daniel, my neighbor Mrs. Winters who lost her husband last spring, Dr. Warren who insisted I call her Eleanor outside our therapy sessions, and 3 others from my boundary support group. The conversation flows between laughter and thoughtful pauses, no one speaking over others or dismissing anyone's stories. Before we eat, I announce, lifting my glass, I want to thank you all for showing me what family can be. My gaze drifts to the sealed jewelry kit displayed on my bookshelf. What once represented deprivation now stands as testament to growth. Later, Eleanor helps me load the dishwasher, her practiced movements speaking to years of post-holiday cleanups. 42 sessions, she says, handing me a rinsed plate. That's how many we've had. I nod, remembering our first meeting after the cruise revelation. The nightmares have stopped. And the money habit? Haven't checked my parents' bank account in 8 months. The compulsion to monitor their finances had been harder to break than I'd expected. Eleanor smiles. Your mother mentioned you in our session Tuesday. My mother started therapy 4 months after our confrontation at Gianni's restaurant. Harper joined her sessions occasionally, working through her own realization that she was recreating our family patterns with her children. She's trying, Eleanor continues. Your father still refuses to come. And Cody? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Entitlement is a powerful drug. The doorbell interrupts us. James appears in the kitchen doorway holding an envelope. Mail carrier just delivered this. Said it needs a signature. The cream-colored envelope bears my mother's distinctive handwriting. Inside, I find an invitation to their 40th anniversary celebration next month. Unlike previous family events, this one includes a handwritten note. We would love to have you join us, but understand if you prefer not to. Please let us know what works for you. We miss you. Mom. No guilt, no assumptions, no demands. Progress, Eleanor murmurs beside me. 3 years ago, I would have immediately rearranged my schedule. Last year, I would have refused outright. Today, I set the invitation on my counter, deciding to consider it thoughtfully when I'm alone. Tuesday evenings now belong to the youth center where I volunteer, helping young adults navigate family dynamics similar to mine. Last week, a quiet 19-year-old named Ashley brought in a childhood toy her parents had repeatedly promised but never delivered. Buy it for yourself, I'd told her. then decide whether to keep it sealed as a reminder or open it as reclamation. This morning, I finally opened my jewelry kit. The turquoise beads caught the light as I strung them into a necklace, not perfect, but entirely mine. My guests depart with warm hugs and leftovers in containers they'll actually return. The house quiets. I stand by my living room window, fingering my handmade necklace while watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that promise tomorrow. For the first time in 29 years, I look forward rather than back.